This is the individual presentation for module CT5PREMO by Catherine Hughes, UP A93803. My roles for this assignment were storyboard artist and animator. This means that I created storyboards, animatics, as well as the hand animation for this project. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to hand animate our characters as the mocap suite wasn't available to us anymore. For this assignment, creating the storyboards would be the first thing that had to get done. Creating a storyboard was important because it enabled us to look at our source video and compare our thoughts to it and let us see what we did and didn't like about both the original video and the video we would make. By the end of this stage in the pipeline, I created 2 storyboards that differed greatly. I made 2 storyboards because a lot of our ideas had changed from the time the first storyboard was created to the creation of the first animatic. As a group, we all had some ideas that we tried to integrate into our project. Most of these, unfortunately, did not make it into the finished product for one reason or another. In the end, I ended up creating 4 animatics. There were 2 2D animatics that I used Adobe Animate to create, and there were another 2 3D animatics I made using Maya. I created so many animatics because, as aforementioned with the storyboards, we all had a multitude of greatly differing ideas that we all wanted to explore. Creating animatics was the only conceivable way to properly test out our ideas and make sure that they worked with the themes and flowed well with the timing. I personally prefer the 3D animatics that I made, as I feel that I am by no means good at all at drawing, and I think that it's easier to see something that could resemble our finished previous product when using a 3D animatic. Initially, we had a shot where the geisha character would pick up another character called Dr. Osmond, break and contort her body in a way that wouldn't be applicable with mocap and climb up the wall. This was going to be the main shot that I would animate, as there was no way that we could replicate these sorts of movements safely in the mocap suite. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we were not able to use the mocap suite for more than 2 hours, meaning that all of our animation had to be done by hand. It also meant that our criteria for this assignment had changed, so our video now had to be significantly shorter, meaning we had to cut out this shot. I was lucky enough to receive help with the animation from the person who would have been working on the mocap data, since they didn't have anything to do anymore. Since I was the animator for this project, I decided to break up the shot list into halves, with one person getting slightly more easy shots while the other would have fewer shots, but they would be more difficult to animate. It was decided that I would take on the more difficult to animate shots. For the animating, the rigs were made using IK joints, which I had never used before this assignment. It took me some time to get used to controlling the rigs and getting them to behave in the way that I wanted them to, but once I was over that initial learning curve, I was able to properly assess the differences between using IK and FK joints. I've deduced that there are definitely times where using IK joints would be useful, such as bigger sweeping motions, but since there are only a few, if any, shots that use these sorts of motions, I think that using IK joints for this assignment was maybe a tad unnecessary. While I can appreciate that IK joints can be useful as previously mentioned, especially when there isn't a lot of time to animate, and IK joints certainly lend themselves to making animations quickly, I still prefer using FK joints over IK. Personally, I would much rather work with rigs that use FK joints, as I feel that I have more control and can therefore create a better and more realistic animation. As I mentioned previously, I animated fewer shots than my counterpart, but the shots I did were more difficult ones. I've included one of the more difficult shots here, excuse the lack of textures. This shot shows Dr. Osmond struggling to get away from the geisha while she is fighting to keep him there. This shot was difficult because for every movement that I wanted Dr. Osmond to make, I had to mirror it with the geisha's hand and match it perfectly. Thank you.